This is my Inscription of Ruin deck, or Ruin Control deck. So, we got 4 copies of Sanitarium Skeleton, 4 copies of Elder Fang Disciple, 4 copies of Ardent Elementalist, 4 copies You Find Some Prisoners, 4 copies of Poison the Cup, 4 copies of Inscription of Ruins, 4 copies of Burn Down the House, 4 copies of Pestilence Cauldron, 4 copies of Teleportation Circle, 4 copies of Loaf Spider Queen, 4 Mountains, 4 Bright Climb Pathway, 4 Light Step Pathway, 4 Haunted Ridge, and 4 Needle Verge Pathway. So 20 lands. That's what this deck is using. Alright, the main cards in the deck, or main control engine of the deck, is clearly Inscription of Ruins, Teleportation Circle, and Ardent Elementalist, obviously, because these 2 combined allows us to blink her out of the game, put her back into the game, get her into the battlefield effect to add an instance or sorcery. And one of the sorceries we can get back is Inscription of Ruins, which has the effect to target. I choose one of these abilities, which is target opponent discards 2 cards, or return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So there's some reanimation effect there. And third ability you could choose is destroy target creature with mana value 3 or less, which is very useful. And of course you can use this on a token, because a token is a mana value 0. So I've used this to take down a tree folk token. So that felt good. So gives you clearly hand control, right? That's part of it. First you can make your target your opponent and make them discard 2 cards. And then you have the ability to destroy a creature with mana cost 3 or less, which can be very useful, especially against tokens. Man lands, or lands that like stay as creatures for a long period of time. So that's useful against that. But if you can kick it for 2 black and 2 of any color, so for a total of 7 mana, you can get all 3 of those effects. You can make your opponent discard 2 cards, you can bring back one of your 2-drop or 2 cost or less battle cards and creatures from your drop area, from your graveyard to the field, and destroy a 3 cost or less creature. Lots of power. And of course, a good target for that reanimation effect is Elder Fang Disciple, because when she enters the battlefield, your opponent discards a card, so you'll get 3 cards out of your opponent's hand if you kick Inscription to get all 3 effects, and you just bring back Elder, and then your opponent loses 3 cards, and you get a body on board. And of course, Elder Fang Inscription is our reusable discard engine, because this, along with teleportation, means every turn the opponent's discarding a card. So if they're holding on to a spell in their hand, like a counter spell or something, but they got a big creature in their hand they're waiting to play, well, you're more likely going to hit it with this before they even get a chance to. And of course, this combined with Fields of Ruin every turn, well, that's why it's called, Inscription of Ruins, that's why it's called Inscription of Ruins, right? We're going to ruin our opponent's day. So that's our main stuff. We got, our Sanitarium Skeleton for a 1-drop, chump blocker, as well as a discard fodder, so we can discard it for Pestilence or anything else. Or if we go up against a deck that plays, Elder Fang or, any hand destruction decks, we could always discard the skeleton. Then we could always pay to add it back to our hand. So if our opponent keeps playing hand discarding effects, we could just keep discarding the skeleton, so we're not really losing out on any good cards because we're discarding the same stuff over and over again. But we mainly use this card in combination with Pestilence Cauldron, so we can keep making a 1/1 black-green pest creature token with the ability that When a creature dies, you gain a life, so it gives us a chomp blocker, way to create a reusable blocker. And we gain life in the process, which further keeps us in the game longer. Same as if you use a Sanitarium Skeleton, where you pay 3 to add them back to your hand, pay 1 to play them. So for a total 4 mana, you can use them over and over again to block. So you always guarantee you have something to block with. Then we have Poison the Cup. Destroy target creature. If this spell was foretold, scry 2, which is useful. So, give me a second. So I was here. Right? Poison the Cup. You can foretell by just paying 2, put it face down, exiled, and then when you want to play it, you pay 1 black, 1 of anything to play it. So it costs just 1 less black mana in order to play it. And of course you get to scry 2 once you do that. And I always use the scry effect to try to get to my lands. Because sometimes, you don't get that many lands. So you try to. Speaking of lands, something I like to do with this card, by the way. This card is called You Find Some Prisoners. Very weird wording. Okay, choose one of these abilities. Break their chains, destroy target artifact. I wish it did artifact or enchantment. That would have been amazing. Oh well. I get what I can get. And then interrogate them. The second effect you could choose. Exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. Choose one of them. Till the end of your next turn, you may play that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So I tend to use this to grab my opponent's lands, so that way I can, have lands to play every turn. Especially if I notice that I'm low on lands, because a lot of times, you know how it is, especially on MTG Arena, I see it a lot. It happens to me a lot. I get 2 land hands. It's like, man, I don't want a mulligan, So this is a really nice card to have when you only have 2 lands. You haven't drawn any lands yet. You definitely want to play this and hopefully hit a land off of it. Since a lot of your cards only require like 1 red mana or 1 black mana, grabbing a forest, a plain, a island, or any other type of land that produces any other color other than the colors of your deck doesn't matter, because you're going to use it to pay for colorless, for the non-color specific mana. So that's what I tend to do with this. But sometimes I'll grab something like a board wipe or something good. Point is that you get to grab something good and your opponent does not. And of course, since this is an instant, just like this is an instant, you can always get it back with Ardent and use it over and over again. You can do a draw control strategy or a board control strategy. And then of course we got Burn Down the House. Serves 2 purposes, obviously as a board wipe. It does hit Planeswalker, so sometimes that matters. That detail is important, because at least it hits. So we got something that hits artifacts. We got stuff that hits creatures. We got stuff that hits Planeswalkers. It's enchantments that we can't hit. That could be a problem, but you make it work. Most enchantments tend to be not too problematic. They either tend to be support cards or maybe an equipped card that makes a creature strong, so you just kill the creature and the enchantment will disappear. So there's that. But there was one incident where there was like an enchantment that was on the field, and I was like, I need an enchantment to go. It's getting in my way. The Burn Down the House, like I said, deals 5 damage to each creature and each Planeswalker, and has the ability that I can create 3/1/1 red double creature tokens with the ability that when they die, deal 1 damage to any target, and they gain haste until end of turn. So that's very useful to use them as, you can use them as blockers to try to, stall for another turn. You can use them to attack, of course. And of course, being able to play this over and over again every turn and keep creating them. And then, of course, using them as blockers. And then since they die, they deal 1 damage. You can deal 1 damage to any target good, cool thing to do with these is to hit your opponent's planeswalkers so that we can knock off a couple markers. Loyalty, counters off of your opponent's planeswalker, so it makes it hard for them to get to the ultimate or just get them closer to kill range, to die from an attack or something. So that's another way you can use them. Then we have Pestilence Cauldron, checking mana base. Just no green. It's not green. No green. Another deck has green, but we only use the Cauldron part, which the first effect is tap, discard a card, create a Pestilence token, and when it dies, you gain life. So there's a chomp blocker slash life gainer slash attacker. We can always attack with a token if we want. Then we have the pay 1 tap. Each opponent mills cards equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. Sometimes I'll end up having 2 of these in play. I use one to make a token. I'll block with the token, and after I block with the token and gain the life, I use the other one to make my opponent discard a card from the top of the deck. So it further, gives me more control. You always want to make sure your opponent's not drawing anything good, right? And then the last effect is pay 4, tap this card, exile 4 targets from a single graveyard, and target cards, and then draw a card. So then it becomes a draw engine. Obviously, if you have 2 of these in play and 8 mana, you can exile 8 cards and draw 2 cards, type of deal. So since we do, a good amount of milling through this effect, do some hand destruction through these effects. We kill things through these effects. It's not that hard to fill up our opponent's graveyard and then exile them for draw power. Then we have Lilith's Spider Queen. Lilith, so she has we use her for -3 ability to, as soon as we play her, we immediately just make the spider tokens. There's 2/1 black spider tokens with menace and reach, so definitely use great defense. You can take down a 4 toughness creature with the 2 tokens. You can obviously block 2 attacks, and the fact that they have menace makes them harder to block, which is always good. So that way they could deal damage for you. And then she has the effect that whenever a creature you control dies, put a loyalty counter on her. So when the spider tokens die, defending you or defending her, sometimes people tend to want to attack her, and I just use the tokens to block. She'll get counters. And then we use her +0 ability after we make the tokens in the first place to, draw a card. We lose life in the process. But because we use Cauldron to gain life, then that's not, obviously that's not a problem to lose a life because we can always get it back. And those are all the creatures, cards, and the lands. You can obviously modify them however way you want. He's been working good for me. Double checking. Yeah, you notice that none of them really have an effect that causes them to come into play. Tap, because you never want to be in a situation where you can't tap, where you have a land that comes into play tapped. Haunted Ridge only comes into play tapped, essentially turn 1 or turn 2. So you always try to play turn 3, or sometimes you just play turn 1 because there's nothing to do turn 1. But turn 2, sometimes you want to play the disciple. You may want to play you find some prisoners, which is always good to do turn 2. The sooner you get to take some mana or some lands or some good card like a planeswalker or something from your opponent, and you normally want to grab something cheap because you don't have access to that card forever. You only have it if you play this on your turn 2. You only have access to that card until your next turn, because at the end of your next turn you won't have access to it. So keep that in mind. So that's why I usually grab lands with this, because I'm always guaranteed to play a land every turn. Because lands are free to play, right? That's the whole point. simple deck. It's not, you know, fully, you know, so complicated. You notice that a lot of the powers of the cards are pretty low, but the whole idea is that we have control. You know, we gain control of the board. We kill, you know, strong things. We steal things. You know, and we just put up value engines. You know, most of these cards stick on the field and just keep giving us value every turn. You know, giving us that control and advantage, and that's how we win, through controlling and making the game hard for our opponent and easy for us. And that's the end of the video. There's gameplay on the channel, by the way, of this, so you can see it in action.